that was. What's happening, ghoulies? I got some notification as soon as my thing went live. Welcome to the Voina Experience. Thank you guys so much for joining this live broadcast, so this live reading of my newest book, Stories of Havenwood, you guys. So we're doing something a little bit different on this live feed. I'm in the middle of this big book promotion, you guys. I'm all about the book promotion right now, so I'm doing this as a way to promote that, get the word out, circulate it a little bit. So I'm going to be doing a reading from one of the stories of Havenwood, as well as, if you stick around to the end of the broadcast, I am going to be giving you guys information on how you can win a free signed copy of the book. So if you're liking the story and you want to see how it ends and read the other stories in the book, you can get an opportunity to win a copy for free, and of course it'll also be signed. But if you don't want to wait for the free copy, or you just want to get it, I will have links to the book on Amazon in the description. Once I get this whole live feed done, I'll have it down there for you guys. But it is on Amazon. You can just search Stories of Havenwood and you'll find it available there. But today we are going to be doing a little bit of a reading from it, ghoulies. I have been getting some feedback from the book from people who've purchased it, and some from random customers on Amazon and online who've written reviews about it. And it's getting a lot of good feedback, and I've been getting some good remarks about one of the stories in here, my fifth story that takes place in the late 80s. It's called Night of the Blood Moon. And in this story, a group of young adults are revisiting a childhood sort of place that they went to, the local movie theater. Not like a movie theater like, a Cinemark or a Great Escape or Regal or something like that. We're talking like a Palace Theater type of movie theater, like downtown type movie theater where it's a stage and a screen with like one projector, old-timey type of theater, that type of thing. So this group of young adults, they kind of go back to this theater that had burned down, and they're just sort of exploring it. It's on Halloween night, and it's just sort of crazy sort of things that ensue. And a little bit about the book before we get started with it, ghoulies, is that the inspiration for it was sort of like, I enjoy like slow burn horror, scary type things. I like gore and things like that, every now and again, but not all the time. I think that a good scary story has a lot of room for imagination. And I feel that a lot of things today kind of give us a little too much information. And that's bad in horror, because what scares you might not scare me. And if every single thing is defined in a scary story, you're going to lose people who might not be scared of something. A perfect example, real quick, would be the Amityville Horror. Originally, the demon or the Jody or the entity in that house is never really clearly defined. It has forms that it takes on. That's, you get some, like a pig and whatever, but there's no clear definition. However, in the remake version with Ryan Reynolds, they clearly define Jody as a little girl ghost living in the house, and that for me kills it, because I'm not scared of little girl ghosts. I'm scared of things that are in my own imagination. So when I wrote this book, I kind of wanted there to be room for imagination. So it's more of a slow burn type atmospheric horror than it is slashers and gore and guts and that type of thing. So we're going to be doing a reading from Night of the Blood Moon, which is a story from Stories of Havenwood. And if you stick around, like I mentioned, to the end of the live stream, you can figure out how you can win a copy for free. We're going to be starting kind of in the middle of the story to give you a feel of what's kind of going on in it. I'm not going to conclude it, so if you like it and you want to keep going, you'll just have to get a copy of the book. So here we go with Night of the Blood Moon from Stories of Havenwood. I'm gonna be reading from my digital copy because the book, I don't want to mess up the bindings for any of the copies I'm going to give away. Nancy stood at the edge of the stage, scanning the blackened seats, the crowbar swinging lightly in her hand. "Can't believe they never rebuilt this place," she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. "It was the only real fun thing to do around here, and they just let it rot." Lisa stepped closer to her, glancing out over the ruin. "I guess some things are too broken to fix," she said softly. The words hung in the air, and she wasn't sure if she meant the theater or something else. This wasn't just a building ravaged by fire. It was a monument to something lost. Behind them, Teddy clambered onto the stage with an exaggerated groan, dusting off his pants. "All right, so we're here," he said, his tone still flippant. "What now, we start looking for ghost shadows or something?" "I don't think we should stay very long," Megan said, hovering near the back of the stage, glancing over her shoulder, her face pale in the red moonlight. Kyle stood by one of the old lighting rigs, his fingers tracing the corroded metal. He looked up at Nancy, eyebrows raised. "You said something about the projector still running during the fire." Nancy nodded, walking toward the back of the stage where the screen hung. "That's the story, yeah. The movie kept playing the entire time people were being burned alive." Lisa felt a chill as she followed Nancy's gaze to the gaping hole in the back wall. She had heard the stories, of course, everyone in Havenwood had. But standing here at the heart of the ruin, the stories felt more oppressive. Nancy turned to the group, her face illuminated in the faint glow from the broken roof. "They say the movie kept playing to capture their souls forever." "This is stupid," Teddy scoffed through his bravado had noticeably faded. He glanced at the torn remnants of the screen, his eyes narrowing. "It was probably just faulty wiring. You can't believe all that supernatural crap." Kyle shrugged. "Faulty wiring or not, people died here. That's real enough." Megan shivered, taking another step back, her arms wrapped tightly around her torso. Lisa could feel the tension growing in the group, a silent unease that none of them seemed willing to fully acknowledge. They all felt it, the weight of the past, the lingering traces of something dark. Nancy broke the silence with a low chuckle. "Come on, it's just a story," she said, trying to lighten the mood. "People always come up with wild theories when they don't understand something. Ghosts, curses, it's all a way to explain things that don't make any sense." She bent down to pick up a piece of the ruined screen, the fabric crumbling in her hands. "But that doesn't mean we can't have a little fun with it, right?" Lisa watched her, unsure whether to be comforted or concerned. Nancy had always been the risk-taker, the one who pushed boundaries, but tonight felt different. There was an edge to her arrogance that made her uneasy, like she was daring the theater to prove her wrong. Before she could say anything, Nancy turned toward the far side of the stage where a narrow staircase led up to the projection booth. The stairs were mostly intact, though charred at the edges, and a faint trail of moonlight filtered down from the upper level. "Anyone up for checking out the booth?" Nancy asked, her smile widening. "Maybe we'll find that old reel still up there." Megan took a step back, her eyes wide. "No way, I'm not going up there." Teddy, ever the skeptic, snorted. "Yeah, because getting tetanus or falling through the floor sounds like a great time." Kyle, however, seemed more intrigued than cautious. He glanced up at the darkened staircase, then back at Nancy. "What do you think you'll find up there? It's been abandoned for years." "Who knows?" Nancy shrugged, her hand gripping the crowbar a little tighter. "But isn't that the fun of it?" Lisa felt a knot form in her stomach as she watched Nancy climb the first few steps. The darkness above seemed to swallow her, the faint light from the moon barely penetrating. For a moment, she considered telling her to stop, to call it a night and leave the theater behind them, but the words caught in her throat. Nancy paused halfway up the staircase and glanced back at the group. "Come on, ladies," she called out, her voice echoing off the walls. "What's the worst that could happen?" Lisa exchanged a glance with Kyle, who gave her a slight nod. She took a deep breath and followed Nancy up the stairs, each step creaking under her weight. Kyle was right behind her, his calm presence somehow reassuring. Teddy and Megan stayed at the bottom of the stairs, watching in silence as the others ascended. As Lisa reached the top, she was hit with a wave of cold air, far colder than it should have been. The booth was small, but big enough for two people, with a rusted projector sitting like a forgotten relic in the corner. The windows overlooking the auditorium were cracked and filthy, letting in only the faintest slivers of light. Nancy ran her hand over the old projector, her grin fading as she took in the despair. "Looks like it hasn't been touched in years," she muttered, sounding almost disappointed. She crouched down, inspecting the dusty reels stacked against the wall, their labels too faded to read. Lisa stepped closer to the window, peering out at the auditorium below. From up here, the theater looked even more decayed. The seats, like rows of broken teeth, the moonlight casting strange, flickering shadows across the floor. Behind her, Nancy jolted one of the reels, trying to get a better look. The metal casing scraped against the floor, sending a harsh screech through the booth, and Lisa winced at the sound. Then, without warning, the projector sputtered to life. The old machine whirred and clicked, its gears grinding painfully as the light flickered on, casting a pale, ghostly beam across the ruined auditorium. The light didn't reach the space where the screen had been, but instead hit the seats, illuminating the empty rows with an unnatural glow. Nancy stumbled back, her face pale. "I didn't do anything," she said, her voice tight with fear. Lisa stared at the projector, her heart racing. It shouldn't have worked. It couldn't have worked. Not after all this time, and yet, here they were, standing in the darkened booth, watching as the ancient machine played its phantom reel, the light casting strange shadows that danced across the ruined theater below. "It's old," Nancy continued. "Maybe it's just some kind of a glitch." Kyle leaned in closer, his calm exterior cracking over this ever so slightly. "A glitch? After all this time? There's no way it even has power. You did something." "I didn't touch it," Nancy repeated firmly. Lisa forced herself to step away from the window, her skin prickling with unease. She wanted to believe there was a logical explanation, old wiring, maybe, or some long-forgotten backup generator, but no other lights came on and nothing else seemed to be affected. Just the projector. Nancy rubbed the back of her neck, glancing nervously between the others. "All right, let's just shut it off," she muttered, moving toward the projector again. Her hand hovered over the machine as if touching it might somehow make things worse. But before she could reach for the power switch, a soft, distorted crackle filled the room. The film began to play, and the images blurry and indistinct at first. Lisa could barely make out the shapes moving across the walls and stage where the screen had been. Shadowy figures were flickering in and out of view, their movements jerky like something caught between frames. Her heart pounded in her chest. The tension in the booth became almost suffocating. Nancy took a step back, her face pale as the shadows on the reel twisted and warped, their forms becoming more distinct. They weren't just random blurs anymore. They were people. Faces. Faces she didn't recognize. Who are they?" Megan's voice, soft and distant, echoed from the bottom of the stairs. Lisa glanced over her shoulder, spotting her, and Teddy rooted in place near the base of the stage, staring up at the flickering images in horror. Nancy shook her head slowly. "I don't know," she whispered. The figures on the reel continued to move, their ghostly forms shifting in and out of focus. Lisa squinted, her pulse quickening as the scene became clearer. As the group of people seated in the same auditorium below them, their faces bathed in the pale light of the projector. They were watching something just out of view. She took a step closer to the machine, her eyes locked on the faces in the film. They're sitting in the theater." Kyle leaned over her shoulder. "How is that possible?" Before Lisa could respond, the reel clicked and the scene shifted again. The figures on the screen were no longer just sitting, they were turning. One by one, they began to twist in their seats, their faces turning toward the camera, toward the projector, toward them. Lisa's stomach twisted as the cold realization hit her. The people in the reel, they weren't just random figures. They were the audience from the night of the fire, and they were staring directly at her. Nancy let out a sharp breath, backing away from the projector as the reel continued to play. The faces on the burned screen grew clearer, their expressions twisted into something between fear and rage. Their mouths opened, but no sound came from the reel, just the soft, persistent hum of the projector. "This isn't happening," Teddy said, as he entered the small booth with Megan directly behind them. "This is a trick, Nancy. What are you doing?" "I'm not doing anything. What the hell, Teddy?" Nancy fired back. Megan shook her head. "We need to leave now." Well, folks, that was just a little snippet example from Night of the Blood Moon from Stories of Havenwood. A little bit of a spooky situation happening as a group of young adults are inside of a theater that is slowly coming to life. What horrors and what adventures await the group? You'll just have to find out by getting a copy of Stories of Havenwood yourself. Is available on Amazon right now. But, Ghoulies, as promised, I have a signed copy available for a giveaway right now. All you have to do to be entered into the drawing, which is going to be taking place on February 24th, is simply be a subscriber of the Voyna Experience, obviously, and drop a comment on this video that you've watched it, that you saw it, that you interacted with it, that you were here for this viewing. Just comment something in the comments below. Then, Ghoulies, if you want some bonus entries, head over to my Substack account where my podcast, Steeped in Cinema, is located. Feel free to subscribe to that account and comment on one of the articles or the podcast there. I will leave a link to it in the description of this video. For every comment on those articles and podcast episodes, we'll get you a bonus entry into winning a free copy of Stories of Havenwood, signed by me. Well, thanks so much for watching and being a part of this live reading, Ghoulies, of Stories of Havenwood, written by me and available on Amazon right now for purchase, guys. And again, if you want to win if you want to be entered to win a free copy of the book, simply subscribe to my channel, drop a comment on this video, and for every time, and if you want a bonus entry, go over to my Substack account, which will be in the description, and subscribe to that account and leave a comment on one of the articles or podcast episodes there, and you will get bonus entries for every comment. Thank you so much, Ghoulies. We'll see you next time, Ghoulies. Oh, wait, that's not what I say. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Voyna Experience. And until next time, I'll catch you later, Ghoulies.